My name's Samantha Reyes. I'm 34, and I fly F-16 fighter jets for the United States Air Force. Up there in the clouds, I'm in command of a $20 million machine built for war. But down here on the streets, none of that matters. Not when I'm just another woman behind the wheel. It happened on a suffocatingly hot afternoon in Las Vegas. I was headed to a veterans conference running a few minutes late. The traffic was merciless, horns blaring, engines overheating, tempers boiling. I was easing into a tight merge when it happened. A lifted black pickup came barreling up behind me, engine roaring like a beast. I had the right of way, but he didn't care. He screeched up to my bumper, laid on his horn like a man possessed, then swerved up beside me, window down. "Move, you stupid bee!" he screamed, middle finger high, face twisted with rage. For a second, just a second, my instincts kicked in. The same instincts that, in the cockpit, would have had me snap roll out of missile lock. Down here, all I could do was grip the wheel, breathe, and let him pass. He gunned it, cutting me off so hard I had to stomp the brakes to avoid a collision. And the look he shot me as he passed, disgust, dismissal, it wasn't new. It wasn't rare. I've seen that look my whole life. In training, in briefing rooms, on air bases where men would size me up like I didn't belong. But this wasn't about one guy in a truck. This was about every single person who ever underestimated me for simply being a woman on the road, or in the sky. I clenched my jaw, rolling my shoulders back. "You have no idea who you just flipped off," I muttered under my breath. He took the next turn into a gas station, and for a brief second, I swear he glanced back to see if I was still watching, like he wanted to make sure I felt humiliated. Oh, I felt something all right. I pulled into the same gas station, not out of anger, not revenge. I needed fuel and a moment to breathe. But fate had a different plan, because the moment I stepped out of my car, he saw me, and that's when the real story began. The second I stepped out, his posture shifted. He was standing by his truck, pumping gas with one arm while scrolling his phone with the other. When his eyes flicked up and caught me walking toward the pump, his smirk reappeared. "Figures," he muttered loud enough for me to hear. Typical. I ignored it, didn't even flinch. I've flown sorties under missile fire with more pressure than this guy could ever throw at me. But then, he didn't stop. "Let me guess," he called out, shaking his head. "Daddy bought you that car. No clue how to handle it, huh?" His voice carried, loud enough that the cashier inside turned to look. "Stay off the roads if you don't know how to drive, princess." That was it. I slowly turned toward him, locking eyes. I didn't raise my voice, didn't curse, didn't even blink, just said, "You know, people like you remind me of surface-to-air missile systems." He squinted, confused. "What?" "Loud, aggressive, dangerous if ignored, but easy to outmaneuver once you spot 'em." I popped the gas cap open, calm as ever. He laughed, shaking his head. "Oh, what are you? One of those motivational TikTok girls?" He made air quotes with his fingers. "Stay strong, queen, that kind of crap?" I didn't answer. I let the silence hang, let it stew, because I knew something he didn't. The unmistakable roar of jet engines suddenly echoed overhead. A formation of 3 fighter jets sliced through the sky above the Vegas Strip, part of the pre-show flyover for the veterans event I was headed to. His head snapped up, eyes tracking the formation. "Damn," he muttered. "Now that's driving." I smiled, slow and steady. "Yeah, it is." Then, without breaking eye contact, I reached into my passenger seat, pulled out my flight helmet, the one with the U.S. Air Force emblem stamped on the side, and set it down on the roof of my car. His face, drained, mouth slightly open. No way." He blinked, shaking his head like his brain couldn't process it. You fly those every day," I said quietly. "F-16 Fighting Falcon, 77th Fighter Squadron. Call sign Viper." His phone slipped from his hand and clattered to the pavement. "I spent the last 10 years doing things you can't even imagine at altitudes you'll never reach," I added, my voice level. "So trust me, merging into traffic isn't exactly my biggest challenge." For once, he had nothing to say, nothing at all. I replaced the gas cap, slid the helmet back onto the seat, and walked toward the convenience store like he didn't even exist. But even as I walked away, I could feel his eyes burning into my back, The weight of realizing he'd just cursed out someone whose job is literally defying gravity. And yet, something told me this story wasn't done. Not even close. Because when I came back out, his truck was still there, engine running, window rolled halfway down, waiting. I stepped out of the store, iced coffee in hand, expecting him to be gone. But no, his truck was still parked, idling, like he was waiting for something. Or maybe for me. For a second, I debated walking straight to my car and driving off. Let it go. Be the bigger person. But then, he waved. Not aggressively this time, just a small, hesitant gesture, like someone testing the water before stepping in. I sighed. "Here we go," I muttered, walking back toward my car. Sure enough, his window rolled fully down. "Look, hey," he started, rubbing the back of his neck. The bluster was gone, replaced with something else. Embarrassment? Uncertainty? Didn't mean to, back there in traffic. "Oh, you didn't." I tilted my head. "Calling me a stupid bee was, what? Just constructive feedback?" He winced. "Yeah, that was bad. I get it. Look, I didn't know, all right? I didn't know you were, military." I leaned against my car door, crossing my arms. So if I was just some random woman minding her business, that behavior would have been okay? He opened his mouth, closed it, looked away. "Damn," he sighed. "You got a point." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The air was heavy, not with anger anymore, but something else. Realization, discomfort, reflection. I grew up around pilots," he finally said, avoiding my eyes. "My dad was Navy. Always told me women didn't belong in the cockpit. Guess some of that stuck. Didn't think about it until now." I softened, just a little. Not because he deserved it, but because I've seen this before. The quiet, ugly grip of bias that people don't even realize they're holding until someone shatters it. "You ever pull 9Gs? I asked. He snorted. "I get dizzy on roller coasters." "Exactly." I pushed off the car. "Look, I'm not here to preach, but next time you feel the need to scream at someone in traffic, maybe remember you don't know who's on the other side of that wheel. Could be a school teacher, a nurse, or someone who's dodged missiles at 30,000 feet while protecting your freedom." He nodded slowly. Yeah, you're right." He scratched his beard, then added with a sheepish grin, You kind of scared the hell out of me with that helmet." "Good," I said, sliding into my car. "Means you're paying attention." As I started the engine, he leaned out one last time. "Hey, one more thing. What's it like, flying one of those?" I paused, gave him a sideways glance. Imagine the most powerful, dangerous thing you've ever controlled, and realizing you are it. His jaw dropped slightly. Damn. I pulled out of the gas station, leaving him sitting there, stunned, speechless. Maybe changed, maybe not. Who knows? But as I merged back onto the highway, I couldn't shake the feeling that this day wasn't done with me yet. Not by a long shot. I was halfway down the strip when my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Normally, I'd let it go to voicemail, but something told me to pick up. "Hello?" A familiar voice crackled through the speaker. "Captain Reyes?" I straightened in my seat. Only a handful of people ever called me that anymore. "This is Reyes. Who's this?" "It's Colonel Matheson. Sorry for the short notice. We've got a situation. Are you still in Vegas?" My pulse spiked. "Yeah, I'm en route to the Veterans Conference." "Change of plans," he said. His tone was clipped, professional, but under that, an edge. Urgent. "We've got a mechanical issue with one of the jets in the flyover formation. They're grounded at Nellis. Command needs a replacement pilot. Now." I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious. You're the only qualified pilot in the area who's cleared for that airframe. Can you get to Nellis in 30? My brain flipped a switch, the same one that always kicks in when the stakes jump from 0 to 10,000. "Copy that. I'm on my way." "Good. Suit up." The line went dead. I floored the accelerator. As I veered onto the on-ramp toward Nellis Air Force Base, something flashed in my peripheral vision. A familiar black pickup truck. Him. At the stoplight, I caught his glance. He blinked, recognizing me. His jaw practically hit his lap as he watched me tear through the intersection, tires screeching, hazard lights on. His face was a perfect blend of confusion and disbelief. Bet he didn't expect to see me again. Not like this. 15 minutes later, I was badge scanning my way through the Nellis gates. Tech crews were already rolling out the jet, an F-16C, armed for show, not combat, but still fully capable of pulling Gs and breaking the sound barrier. "Suits ready, Viper," a crew chief called, tossing me my gear. I slipped into the flight suit, strapped on my G-suit, and pulled the helmet over my head. Everything clicked into place like muscle memory. My breathing slowed. My heartbeat synced to the rhythm of the turbine spin-up. "Viper to tower, ready for taxi. Viper, cleared runway 25. You are flight lead. Others are holding for your mark." Throttle forward. Brake release. The jet lunged. As I roared down the runway, nose lifting, wheels folding into the belly of the bird, Vegas fell away beneath me. The strip, the casinos, the chaos, all shrinking to dots. This is where I belonged. The moment I leveled out, the comms lit up. "Viper, formation on your 6. You are clear for flyover route." "Copy. Let's show 'em how it's done." I punched it. Afterburner ignited. The jet surged forward, leaving a thunderclap in its wake, and as we screamed over the strip, I spotted it. That same gas station, that same black pickup. I dipped the wing. Just a little. Enough for anyone looking up to see the belly of the beast. A symbol of the very thing he once thought didn't belong to women like me. I didn't know if he saw it. Didn't know if he connected the dots. But something told me he absolutely did. The flyover was flawless. Clean lines, perfect formation, a deafening roar of freedom rolling over the Las Vegas Strip. Crowds cheered, cameras flashed, and for a few glorious seconds, every pair of eyes was fixed on the sky. But up here, it wasn't about the cheers. It never was. Up here, it was about precision, discipline, mastery over something that most people couldn't even fathom controlling. As I pulled the formation into a clean break, splitting off from the rest, the tower came through my headset. "Viper, cleared for solo pass. You're a go for the tactical climb." "Roger that." I pushed the throttle forward, felt the afterburner kick me back into the seat, and pulled the nose straight into the sky. 90 degrees vertical. G-forces crushing my chest. The ground fell away so fast it blurred, and for a moment, I let myself feel it. The rush, the fire, the defiance of gravity, of expectations, of every doubter who'd ever tried to tell me where my limits were. At 15,000 feet, I cut throttle, flipped inverted, and rolled back toward base. As I banked into final approach, the adrenaline began to taper, but not completely. Something still buzzed under my skin. A feeling I couldn't quite name yet. Like the story wasn't finished, not even close. I taxied to the ramp, popped the canopy, and pulled my helmet off. Ground crew applauded as I climbed down, probably more for the fact that I'd filled in last minute than for the flyover itself. But one figure stood apart from the rest. A man in civilian clothes, arms crossed, sunglasses low on his nose, watching me. My heart skipped. No way. It was him. Pickup truck guy. He shouldn't have been here. This wasn't open to the public. You needed clearance to be anywhere near the tarmac. But there he was, standing awkwardly beside a uniformed officer. I approached, frowning. "What? How?" The officer stepped forward. "Captain Reyes, this gentleman requested to speak with you. Says it's important." I crossed my arms. "Is that right?" He pulled off his sunglasses, eyes softer now. No bluster, no bravado. Look, I know I'm probably the last person you want to see, but I had to come, to say," he swallowed, "I'm sorry, for real this time." I stared at him, silent. I've spent my whole life thinking I knew how the world worked, that there were lanes and people had their place. But watching you, up there, I realized how small-minded I've been. You shattered every assumption I ever had, and it hit me like a freight train. I didn't respond, just let him sit in it. He shifted, uncomfortable. I found out about the flyover from the radio, drove straight here, talked my way in. Guess looking pathetic works sometimes. He offered a weak chuckle. I exhaled. Took a lot to come here. He nodded. Yeah, it did. He paused. Look, I don't expect you to forgive me, but I needed to see you again. Needed to admit, I was wrong. About you. About women. About everything. I gave a small nod. Steady, but my voice stayed steel. Good. Own it. Grow from it. And next time you see a woman behind the wheel, or anywhere, really, maybe remember today. Yeah. His voice cracked a little. Yeah, I will. We stood there. Quiet. No handshake, no hug, just an understanding. But as he turned to leave, something flickered in my gut. An instinct honed from years in combat. Something wasn't right, and within seconds, I'd realized this day had one last twist left. As he walked away, a flicker of movement caught my eye. Two men, lingering near the restricted access gate. They weren't in uniform, no badges, just standing there, too casual, watching. My pilot instincts snapped into overdrive. In combat, subtle details save lives. An unusual glint on the horizon, a shadow where it shouldn't be. Down here, same rules apply. I scanned their hands. One had a bulky duffel slung over his shoulder, way too heavy for personal items. The other kept glancing toward the flight line, then checking his phone, then back. His foot tapped like a piston. Nerves. The pit of my stomach turned to ice. Something was off. Hey! I spun back toward the officer who'd escorted pickup truck guy. Who are those guys? He followed my gaze, frowned. Not ours. His hand instinctively went to his radio. Then it happened. The one with the duffel broke, made a sudden dash straight toward the refueling truck parked by the F-16 behind me. Contact! 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 I yelled, instincts overriding everything. My hand shot to my side, except there was no sidearm. I was still in flight gear, unarmed. Chaos erupted. Ground crew scrambled. The officer yanked his radio to his mouth, barking, Code red! Code red! Unauthorized personnel on the flight line. The second guy bolted after the first, and I realized instantly, they're not after the planes. They're after the fuel truck. Explosion. Fire. Panic. That's what they were planning, and I wasn't letting that happen. I sprinted. Helmet in one hand, boots hammering the tarmac. Closed the distance in seconds. The first guy was fumbling with something inside the duffel. Wires. Detonators. My blood ran cold. I didn't hesitate. Years of combat training took over. I launched, tackled him full force, shoulder into his ribs. He hit the ground hard, the bag skidding away. The second guy lunged for me. I swung the helmet, cracked him across the temple. He staggered but didn't fall. Back off, I roared. Get on the ground. For a split second, he hesitated, then bolted. But he didn't get far. Security forces were swarming now, armed, shouting, surrounding him. Within minutes, both suspects were cuffed, face down on the asphalt. Adrenaline surged through every nerve in my body. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from restraint, from the razor's edge of what could have happened and what didn't. The officer ran over, panting. Captain, are you okay? Fine, I nodded, chest heaving. Get EOD on that bag. Clear the line. Pickup truck guy stood frozen near the fence, eyes wide like dinner plates, mouth open, speechless. I walked toward him, wiping sweat from my brow. So, I smirked, trying to catch my breath. Still think the biggest danger out here is a woman driving? His face flushed, but this time not from anger, just pure raw disbelief. You just... He shook his head. I don't even have words. Yeah, I said, voice lower now. That's kind of the point. But deep down, I knew something else. This wasn't some random act. This wasn't coincidence. The look in those men's eyes? It wasn't desperation. It was intent, planned, targeted. And suddenly, I realized this wasn't over. The base was locked down within minutes, sirens screaming, barriers slamming shut, armed patrols flooding every entrance. Emergency ordnance disposal teams swept the duffel bag, carefully extracting what confirmed my worst fear. It was an improvised explosive device, fully wired, fully operational, and it wasn't amateur work. The colonel arrived on the scene, face carved from stone. Captain Reyes, a word. We stepped away from the chaos, but the tension followed. What do you make of this? He asked, voice low, controlled. Not random, I replied immediately. Not even close. They weren't guessing. They knew the layout, the timing, the weak points. I jerked my thumb toward the fuel truck. Hit that? You get a chain reaction? Takes out half the flight line. Could have killed dozens. He nodded grimly. Intel agrees. We just pulled surveillance. Those two were seen casing the base perimeters 3 days ago. And he handed me a tablet. We found something else. On the screen was a grainy photo. Me, walking out of the gas station earlier. Pickup truck guy visible in the background. But the focus? Squarely on me. My stomach dropped. You're telling me I was the target? We don't think it's personal. Not exactly, the colonel said. But whoever's behind this, they clocked you. Followed you. Probably figured if one of our pilots was vulnerable off base, maybe they could exploit that. I clenched my fists. Well, that backfired. His expression softened, just a hair. It did, thanks to you. But the weight of that tablet, of what it implied, gnawed at me. Because if they were tracking me, they knew more. Maybe about where I lived, my family, my squadron. This wasn't just about one attack. This was a warning shot. The colonel continued, We're escalating this to OSI, Office of Special Investigations, and I want you in on the briefing. You were the closest to this. You saw them up close. We're going to figure out who's behind this. Count me in. Before I could say more, a familiar voice piped up behind me. Hey. I turned. Pickup truck guy. Still there. Pale. Visibly rattled. I don't even know what to say, he stammered. I came here, thinking I was going to apologize. Try to fix what I screwed up earlier. And then I see you tackle a terrorist like it's just Tuesday. It is Tuesday, I deadpanned. He blinked. Right. For a moment, the tension broke. Just a little. But the fear in his eyes lingered. Not of me. Of everything. The reality of how close today had come to disaster. Listen, he said, more serious now. If there's anything I can do, anything, you tell me. You've got my respect. All of it. And I'm sorry. I mean it. For everything. You showed me today what real strength looks like. I gave him a steady look. Good. Hold on to that and spread it. Because the fight's not always up in the skies. Sometimes it's right here, on the ground. And too many people still don't see it coming. But even as I said it, part of me knew. This wasn't just about proving something to one man. This was about something bigger. Something coming. And I had a feeling. It was headed straight for me. The OSI briefing was held in a secured conference room deep within Nellis Air Force Base. No windows. Phones confiscated. The air was heavy with tension, the kind I knew all too well from mission briefings before combat sorties. A giant screen flickered to life, displaying a map of the Vegas area with a series of red pins clustered around key locations, military installations, fuel depots, airfields. My stomach tightened. This wasn't just about the base. Special Agent Carter, sharp-suited with the kind of dead-serious energy that could freeze fire, stepped to the front. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, this wasn't an isolated incident. A murmur rippled through the room. Carter continued, tapping the screen. In the last 72 hours, 2 other bases reported surveillance breaches. One attempted perimeter intrusion at Luke Air Force Base. Another, an intercepted package at a private hangar in San Diego. Similar construction. Same materials. He clicked the remote. Surveillance footage filled the screen. Grainy, but clear enough. 2 men, same profiles as the guys I tackled earlier. But behind them, another figure. Hooded, face obscured, taller, stockier. Carter's voice dropped. We believe he's the coordinator, the leader. This isn't some small rogue op. This is organized, coordinated, and escalating. The colonel folded his arms. What's their objective? Carter hesitated. Still unclear. But based on the targets, fuel lines, runways, aircraft, they're aiming for maximum disruption. Either domestic terror or a message. A big one. I leaned forward. And the fact that I was followed off base means they're getting bolder. Exactly, Carter confirmed. Captain Reyes, it's very likely you were a soft surveillance target. They were testing boundaries, seeing how close they could get. The colonel frowned. She's not soft anything. Carter gave a thin smile. Didn't say she was. He turned back to me. But your actions today forced their hand. The takedown on the flight line spooked them, which means they'll either retreat and regroup or accelerate. The silence was suffocating. Then Carter dropped the hammer. And there's more. We pulled data from the phones we recovered off the suspects. One outgoing message, sent 10 minutes before the takedown. He hit play. An audio clip crackled to life. A deep, distorted voice. Target compromised. Move to phase 2. My blood iced. Phase 2. Carter clicked the screen again. Another image appeared. A grainy shot from a highway camera. A black SUV. Plate blurred. But the timestamp. 20 minutes ago. Near my neighborhood. I shot to my feet. You think they're headed to my house? We don't think, Carter replied grimly. We know. Without another word, I grabbed my helmet off the table and sprinted for the door. Captain Reyes, the colonel shouted. We've got ground teams en route. Stand by for backup. Negative, I fired back over my shoulder. No time. Because one thing was painfully clear. If this was phase 2, then whatever was coming next, it wasn't going to wait. And neither was I. I floored it out of the base, tires shrieking, the G-suit still clinging to me like a second skin. My mind raced faster than the engine. Phase 2. My house. My life outside the cockpit wasn't supposed to be part of the battlefield. But here we were. As the Vegas skyline blurred past, my hands tightened around the wheel. I wasn't just thinking about myself, my neighbors, innocent people. If they were using my house as bait or a target, the fallout could be catastrophic. Dispatch crackled through the radio clipped to my flight vest. Captain Reyes, OSI ground units are 5 minutes out. Hold perimeter if possible. Do not engage alone. Copy, I lied. I had no intention of waiting. I turned onto my street, slammed the brakes. There it was, black SUV, parked half up on the curb, engine running. 2 men out front, one at my door, tools in hand, picking the lock. The other stood watch, scanning the street, one hand under his jacket. Weapon. My pulse rocketed. No time to think, no time to weigh options. I killed the lights, yanked the car into park, and reached into the back seat for the emergency kit every pilot keeps, even on the ground. Pulled out a collapsible baton. It wasn't an F-16, but it would have to do. Deep breath. Engage. I flanked wide, staying low behind the neighbor's hedges. Came up on the lookout first. His back was to me. Big mistake. 1 step, 2, crack. The baton snapped out, steel against bone. He dropped like a sack of bricks, groaning, weapon skidding across the pavement. The guy at my door spun, reaching under his jacket. I was faster. I charged, rammed him into the siding of the house so hard the stucco cracked. His hand fumbled for the gun, too slow. I brought the baton down across his wrist. The gun clattered to the ground. On your face, I shouted. Now! He didn't argue. I pinned his arm, driving a knee into his back. My other hand grabbed the comm radio. Dispatch, 2 suspects down, need immediate backup at my location. Secure perimeter, possible further hostiles in play. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. But as I glanced back toward the SUV, I realized something. The driver's seat. Empty. My blood turned to ice. A sudden voice behind me. Calm. Cold. Too close. Impressive. For a pilot. I whipped around. Too late. A figure in a black hoodie surged forward. Something hard slammed into my temple. Stars exploded behind my eyes. My knees buckled. The ground rushed up to meet me. Darkness edged in, but before I slipped under completely, I heard one last thing. We weren't here for your house, Captain. We were here for you. Consciousness came back like a punch, blinding pain behind my eyes, a pounding headache, and the acrid smell of gasoline and dirt filling my lungs. My wrists were zip-tied behind my back, ankles too. I was in the back of a moving vehicle. Judging by the suspension, rough tires, and how every bump jarred my ribs, it wasn't a sedan, a van, or maybe a truck. The engine hummed, steady but strained. Focus, Reyes. Focus. I cracked one eye open. Dim interior, no windows. Just steel walls and faint slivers of light bleeding through cracks around the rear doors. A voice filtered from the cab up front. Male. Calm. Focused. She fought harder than expected. A second voice. Rougher. Told you. Should have hit her earlier. She's military. Not some civilian you can intimidate. Doesn't matter. Phase 3's ready. Once we get the package delivered, it's game over. Package. Phase 3. My pulse kicked up. This wasn't random. This wasn't revenge for what happened at the base. This was tactical. I wasn't the endgame. I was a means to it. And whatever phase 3 was, it wasn't going to be small. I shifted, testing the restraints. Tight. Industrial zip ties. But they'd made a mistake, tying my hands behind my back instead of in front. Rookie move. Pilots train for this. Escape, evasion, resistance, survival. I scanned the walls, nothing but a stack of crates tied down with nylon straps. Cargo hooks in the floor. Metal railings. A plan started forming. I braced against one crate, shifted my wrists against the sharp edge of a metal latch. Sawed. Pain flared as the plastic bit into my skin. But it was working. Snap. The zip tie gave way. No time to celebrate. I yanked my legs under me, fumbled with the ties on my ankles. Rough, fast, clumsy. Got them off. The vehicle hit a pothole, sending me sprawling into the sidewall, but I caught it. Used the momentum. Slid low, crept toward the doors. Voices again. Closer. 10 more minutes. Get the gear prepped. I pressed an ear against the metal. Listened. Clicks. Beeps. Radio chatter. Then I heard it. Words that turned my blood to ice. Confirm. Devices armed. Target. McCarran International. Detonation window locked for 20 minutes post-drop. No. 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 It hit me all at once. This wasn't about me. It never was. I was the distraction, the misdirection. While every federal agent in Vegas scrambled over my kidnapping, these guys were going to take out an entire airport. Thousands of people. I couldn't wait. I scanned the floor, eyes locked on a crowbar lashed to the cargo rack, lunged, grabbed it, slid back to the doors, wedged the bar into the seam, braced both feet, pulled. The metal shrieked, louder than I wanted. Voices up front. What the? Didn't matter. One more yank. Crack. The latch gave. The right door flung open, air rushing in, tires squealing against asphalt. We were on a back road. Open desert. No traffic. I had one chance. I hurled the crowbar into the driver's side mirror. Glass exploded. The van swerved. Tires screeched, and I jumped, hit the dirt hard, rolled, skidded. Every bone screamed in protest. But I was up, running, before they could process it. Behind me, the van fishtailed, brakes locking, voices shouting. But I wasn't looking back. I was sprinting toward the only thing that mattered now, stopping them, stopping the bomb, stopping phase 3. Because if I didn't, thousands would die. The pain barely registered. Scraped palms, shredded knees, a bruised rib, none of it mattered. Not now. Ahead, a thin line of power poles traced the road. In the distance, a cell tower. If I could just get there. Maybe I could get a signal out. I sprinted toward it, lungs burning, boots kicking up sand. Behind me, the van skidded to a stop. Doors flew open. Voices roared. There she is! Gunshots cracked, the hiss of rounds kicking up dirt around my feet. I zigzagged instinctively, muscle memory from evasive maneuvers in combat. On the ground or in the sky, the principle's the same. Don't be predictable. 30 yards. 20. 10. I dove behind the base of the tower, frantically yanking the emergency transponder out of my flight vest. Pilots carry them everywhere. A lifeline. A beacon. Flipped the switch. Nothing. Dead. Come out, Captain! A voice boomed. Now! I scanned the tower. A maintenance box. Locked, but rusted. I jammed my crowbar into the latch. Snap. Open. Inside. An old analog breaker and a service panel. I tore at the wires, searching there. A hardwired emergency phone line. Outdated tech, forgotten, but still live. Praying, I ripped 2 wires free, twisted them together. The line clicked. Dial tone. Come on, come on. I punched 3 numbers. 911, what's your emergency? Trace this call, patch me through to Nellis OSI. This is Captain Samantha Reyes, United States Air Force. Immediate terror threat, active, armed. Target is McCarran International Airport. Repeat, McCarran is the target. I need tactical response now. The dispatcher's voice flipped from bored to razor sharp. Copy that, Captain. Stay on the line. Pinging location. Stand by. A shout behind me. Closer. We see you! Gunfire tore into the metal housing inches from my head. I yanked the crowbar, scrambled up the side of the tower, climbing, boots slipping, hands bleeding. Higher, higher. 10 feet, 20. They couldn't shoot what they couldn't reach. Another voice crackled in my ear, familiar. Viper, this is Colonel Matheson. Confirm your location. Air support inbound. I could have cried. Sir, McCarran, they're moving a device. They're on the clock. 20 minutes. Copy. We've got Predator drones in the air. Eyes on your signal. Sit tight. Reinforcements are 5 mics out. 5 minutes. Below, the men fanned out, rifles scanning the tower. One fired, rounds pinged off steel. Another climbed into the van, engine revving. Not running, moving. No, I screamed. They were bolting, taking the device. I wasn't just a distraction anymore. I was a liability they didn't have time for. I keyed the radio again. They're moving, heading southbound, likely toward the I-215 on-ramp. Roger, Viper. Intercept team en route. Air assets tracking. Hold position. But I couldn't. Not now. Not with lives on the line. I slid down the tower, hit the ground hard, and sprinted toward the nearest dirt bike parked behind a service fence. Left unlocked. Thank God for lazy utility crews. Kicked the starter, engine sputtered, roared to life. I peeled out in a spray of gravel, tearing after the van. The bike wasn't fast on the road, but it could cut through terrain the van couldn't. In the distance, the rising skyline of McCarran Airport. Tick-tock, tick-tock. I gritted my teeth. Not today. Not on my watch. The wind whipped against my face as I tore through the desert, dodging rocks, brush, and the occasional ditch. The dirt bike bounced hard, but it was faster, had to be faster, than the van fighting the curves of the road ahead. I saw them. Black SUV, speeding toward the I-215, weaving through light traffic, pushing 70, maybe more. They were desperate now. I could feel it. The airport skyline loomed closer. Control towers, terminals, fuel depots, all of it silhouetted against the horizon like the very definition of vulnerability. Dispatch crackled in my ear. Viper, interceptor teams 1 mile out. Predator confirms vehicle heading southbound at high speed. Suspects armed. Device confirmed on board. Understood, I gritted. I'm engaging. Negative. Hold perimeter. Repeat. Do not engage. Too late. I throttled the bike harder, angled toward the highway shoulder, and punched through the fence. Metal snapped like toothpicks. My tires hit pavement, skidded, caught, and I was right behind them now. The van weaved. One of the back doors flew open, gun barrel out, muzzle flash, bullets sprayed. I ducked low, felt the wind shear past my helmet. One round punched through my side mirror, another grazed the rear tire, but the bike held. Come on, just a little closer. I reached into my vest, pulled the flare gun pilots carry for emergency signaling. 1 shot, 1 chance. I aimed, fired. The flare screamed forward, hit the windshield in a burst of magnesium fire. The driver swerved, blinded. Tires screeched. The van fishtailed hard, overcorrected, then flipped. It barrel rolled twice, metal crumpling, glass shattering. Debris exploded in every direction. I braked hard, skidding sideways as the wreck came to a grinding stop in the dirt median. For a heartbeat. Silence. Then, movement. The rear door buckled open. The leader, the one in the hoodie. He crawled out, coughing, dragging a metal briefcase. The device. His head snapped up, saw me, and his eyes went wild. Desperation. Rage. I charged. He fumbled for his gun. I tackled him full force. We hit the ground hard, wrestling in the dust. He landed a punch, split my lip, but I drove my elbow into his jaw. He staggered. I grabbed the case, wrenched it free, and shoved him back down. A glint of silver. He drew a knife. Lunged. I pivoted. Grabbed his wrist mid-swing. Twisted. Snap. Bone cracked. The knife clattered away. "It's over!" I shouted. "You're done!" But his hand slapped something on his vest. A remote. No. I threw the case away from him, dove, waiting for the blast. Nothing. A soft beep. Then silence. His eyes widened, confused. Then, horrified. "EMP scrambler," I panted, holding up the small black cube from my pocket. "Standard issue for aircrew. Your remote, fried the second I got close." His face twisted into pure hate. "You..." But before he could finish, headlights flooded the scene. Black SUVs, OSI, local PD, SWAT. Tires screeched to a halt. Armed agents swarmed, rifles drawn. "Down! Down!" He hit the dirt, hands over his head, as agents cuffed him. Others secured the wreck, dragged out the second suspect, miraculously alive but barely. I stood there, hands on knees, breathing like I'd just pulled 9 Gs for 10 minutes straight. The case, safe, bomb, inert. A familiar voice called over the radio. Viper. Target secure. You did it. I exhaled. Yeah. My knees wobbled. We did. As the adrenaline faded, the weight of it all hit me. What could have been, what almost was. But even as the relief settled, something gnawed at the edges of my mind. This was too clean, too tactical, too coordinated. And deep down, I knew it. There's someone bigger behind this. This wasn't the end. Not yet. I sat on the rear bumper of an OSI SUV, an EMT dabbing at the split on my lip while another taped up my ribs. The bomb squad worked nearby, carefully disarming the device inside the case. Agents buzzed around like bees at a broken hive, cataloging, securing, interrogating. And through it all, my eyes stayed locked on him, the leader, handcuffed, silent now, but not defeated. No, his face wasn't the face of a man who'd lost. It was the face of someone who knew something no one else did. A secret, a backup plan, something. Colonel Matheson strode over, expression dark. We pulled his ID, fake. Nothing checks out. No prints in the system. Total ghost. I wiped a smear of blood from my cheek. Of course he is. You don't plan an op like this if you're sloppy. Matheson folded his arms. We also cracked one of the burner phones recovered from the crash. He held it up. There's a message thread. Coded, but we decrypted part of it. He tapped the screen. One line flashed. Phase 4. Confirm if primary survives. The air left my lungs. Primary, me. Matheson nodded. Exactly. This wasn't about the bomb. Not really. I stood, ignoring the jolt of pain. It was about seeing how far I'd go. What I'd do. How fast I'd react. Test run, he said grimly. A probe. A knot tightened in my chest. Which means, this isn't over. Matheson sighed, then handed me an evidence bag. Inside, something small. A token, a coin. Black, matte, with a symbol embossed on it. A falcon, clutching lightning bolts. I blinked. I'd seen this before. Is that? Yeah, Matheson confirmed. It's the insignia for Black Rain. The name hit like a gut punch. A rogue paramilitary network. Ex-special forces. Ex-intel. Mercenaries turned shadow operatives. Their existence was always whispered about, unproven, unconfirmed, until now. This just escalated, I muttered. We're pulling every file, every asset. You're not going home tonight, Reyes. You're under protective custody until further notice. I shook my head. No, I'm not sitting this out. Not negotiable. It's not negotiable for you, Colonel, but for me, I'm not waiting for them to come again. I'm going to them. His eyes locked onto mine, measuring, calculating. You're serious. Damn right. A long silence. Then, he nodded. Then suit up, Captain. You're not out of this fight yet. As I glanced back toward the shattered wreck, the cuffed suspects, the chaos, one thing burned clear in my mind. They thought today was the endgame. They were wrong. It was just the beginning. Night fell over Nellis Air Force Base like a velvet curtain, but there was no rest here. Hangar lights flooded the tarmac. Engines rumbled in the distance. Radios crackled nonstop. This wasn't just recovery mode anymore. This was war footing. I stood in the operations room, dressed back in my flight suit, helmet under one arm. On the massive digital map spread across the wall, red pings flickered. Known Black Rain locations, suspected safe houses, comm intercepts, satellite feeds. And there, dead center, a glowing red square. Their headquarters. A remote compound tucked into the mountains north of Vegas. Remote. Fortified. Hidden for years. Until now. Colonel Matheson paced in front of the assembled task force. Air Force, OSI, FBI, Homeland. All of them together. Something that rarely happened unless the threat was big. This is it, Matheson began. No more defensive. No more waiting for them to make the next move. We're taking the fight to them. Tonight. I nodded, jaw tight. You know they're expecting that, right? Oh, they're expecting something. He turned, locking eyes with me. But not you. A murmur spread through the room. He gestured toward me. Captain Reyes isn't flying tonight. She's leading ground. Heads whipped toward me. I felt it. The tension, the doubt. A pilot. Leading ground? That wasn't standard. Not by a long shot. But Matheson wasn't done. She has first-hand tactical engagement experience with the suspects. She's the reason we cracked their timeline, and... He clicked a remote. An image appeared, grainy drone footage of the compound. There's confirmation. They have our tech, downed drone components, classified equipment, stolen data. This isn't just retaliation. It's containment. I stepped forward. And I'm not going alone. Air cover from the 77th Fighter Squadron is on standby. UAV support online. FBI HRT breaching team on deck. My team? OSI, Special Tactics, and... I scanned the room. Anyone else who's tired of waiting for permission to do the right thing. The plan was simple. Hit them fast. Hit them hard. Disable comms. Secure data. Extract high-value targets. But simple didn't mean easy. As we loaded gear into the Blackhawks, Matheson pulled me aside. You don't have to do this, Reyes. Yes, I do. He sighed. Then watch your six. We need you in the air. But tonight, we need you on the ground. I climbed into the chopper, strapped in, and pulled the helmet over my head. The pilot glanced back. Ready? Ready, I nodded. Let's light 'em up. As the rotors thundered, the city fell away behind us. The desert stretched out ahead, dark, endless, but not empty. Because out there, waiting in that mountain compound, were the people who thought they could break me. Tonight, they'd learn the sky wasn't the only place I was dangerous. The Blackhawk sliced through the night, rotor blades thunderous against the silence of the desert. Red cabin lights bathed the team in an eerie glow, faces tight with focus, weapons checked and rechecked, nerves wound like coiled springs. I stared out the open door, the compound growing larger with every second, an isolated fortress wedged between jagged cliffs, chain-link fencing, watchtowers, vehicles, and the unmistakable heat signatures of armed guards moving through the grounds. This wasn't a hideout, it was a war machine. The radio crackled. All teams, this is Hammer Lead. Confirm ready for breach. I keyed my mic. Viper copies. Team ready. Air support online. Another voice chimed in. F-16s holding at altitude. Drones in position. Copy all. 10 seconds to drop. My heart thudded, not from fear, from clarity. The moment before action when everything narrows. No past, no future, just the now. Go, go, go! We rappelled down in a controlled free fall, boots hitting dirt with a thud. Instantly we split, my team peeling left toward the comms array. Another squad breached the main building. Gunfire echoed, short bursts, controlled. I led point, moving fast along the wall. A guard rounded the corner. Too slow. I dropped him with 2 rounds center mass. Another appeared, hit the ground before he even raised his rifle. Breach point, up ahead, I shouted. A reinforced steel door. I planted the charge, counted down. 3, 2, 1. The blast punched through the air, door blown inward. We stormed in, rifles sweeping, clear left, clear right. Inside, rows of servers, hard drives, monitors showing satellite feeds, encrypted comms, maps, including one screen that made my blood freeze. A map of Nellis, live feeds, coordinates, tactical data. They were watching us. Download everything, I barked. Secure the drives. Copy, one of my operators yelled, shoving data sticks into the ports. Then, another screen flickered. A timer. Rome 0542. What's that? Someone gasped. A voice crackled over the compound PA, smooth, confident, familiar. Well, Captain Reyes, you just can't help yourself, can you? My eyes widened. That voice. Him. The leader from the airport. But no, this was different, deeper, older. You've done well, better than most. But this was never about you stopping a bomb, or saving the base, or even finding this place. I spun, searching. Where are you? This? He laughed cold. This was the audition. The timer ticked lower. Waro 5, 10. Evacuate, I snapped. Now, full extraction. This place is wired. Too late, the voice mocked. You're in it now, Captain. Welcome to the next level. I yanked my radio. All teams, pull out, move, airstrike on standby. Confirm targeting this compound. Roger, Viper. Strike package armed. Say the word. Stand by. I growled, dragging a hard drive under one arm. We're not leaving empty-handed. We sprinted back to the landing zone, rounds cracking past as remaining guards fired blindly. Drones above painted targets, trucks exploded in fireballs, watchtowers disintegrated. Freitro Oro 112. The Blackhawk swooped in, skids barely touching down. My team piled in. Last one up, I threw the drive inside, turned, and locked eyes with a figure standing atop the burning roof of the main building. Tall, hooded, face shadowed, watching, and even through the flames, even at this distance, I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Light it up! I screamed into the radio. Fox 3, missile away! The jet's missile streaked down, impacting the compound in a white-hot bloom of fire. The shockwave rattled the chopper as we lifted, sky filling with smoke, flame, and debris. But as the fire consumed what was left of their headquarters, the words echoed in my head. Welcome to the next level. And somehow, I knew the worst was yet to come. The debrief room was silent. Too silent. Rows of analysts, officers, and agents sat frozen as data from the recovered hard drives scrolled across the massive screen. Names, dates, coordinates, financial trails, satellite images, some of it redacted at levels above top secret. It wasn't just a terror cell. It wasn't just black rain. It was bigger, deeper, systemic, a global network, mercenaries, corrupt ex-officials, rogue intelligence assets, trafficking, weapons, cyber warfare. They weren't just operating in the shadows. They were the shadow. And the worst part? Half the names were people we knew. Generals, politicians, CEOs, people with clearance, people with power. Colonel Matheson stood at the head of the table, face carved from granite. This is worse than anything we've seen. And it's not just external, it's internal. I leaned back, swallowing hard. It was never about attacking the base, never about the bomb. It was about testing responses, mapping weaknesses, seeing how fast we mobilize, who we trust, who we don't. An analyst tapped keys furiously. Sir, pulling up a file. Oh, God. Captain Reyes, you need to see this. A new folder opened on the screen, labeled simply Viper. Inside, my dossier. Full personnel file, flight records, psychological evaluations. Deployment history, photos of me, in uniform, at home. Every detail of my life. But then, another file. Asset evaluation. Click. Text flooded the screen. My face, my service history, and beneath it, a simple classification. Priority, recruitment. Status, approved. The air left my lungs. What? What does that mean? Matheson's eyes narrowed. It means they weren't trying to kill you. A cold chill traced down my spine. They were trying to turn me. The realization hit like a missile. The attack at the gas station, the surveillance, the bomb plot, the kidnapping, the compound, every piece of it, designed not to eliminate me, but to test me, push me, see how far I'd go, see what I was capable of, if I'd break, if I'd switch sides, if I was recruitable. The voice on the compound speakers, it wasn't just mocking, it was delivering an offer, wrapped in fire and chaos. The analyst turned pale. Sir, there's a final message file. Encrypted video, time-stamped 10 minutes before the missile strike. Play it, Matheson ordered. The screen flickered. Static. Then, a figure, seated, hooded, face obscured, voice digitally altered, but the tone, unmistakably cold, calculated. Captain Reyes. Samantha, you passed every test. Strength, resolve, intelligence, adaptability under pressure. The kind of asset we don't find often. You've seen now. You know now. This world isn't what they told you. There's the illusion, and then there's the truth. When you're ready, when you're done being there, you'll find us. The figure leaned closer. You always were meant to fly. Higher. The screen cut to black. Silence. No one moved. No one breathed. Matheson finally spoke, voice low but ironclad. They're not done. Neither are we. He turned to me. And Captain, the real fight? Starts now. I nodded slowly. Because he was right. The sky was never my limit. It was only the beginning.